Welcome to Dreadful Digest, where we look at your favorite horror novels and rip apart their adaptations. I'm one of your hosts, Tessa Nelson.
I am another one of your hosts, Michael Estrada.
I'm another one of your hosts, and my name is Sam.
And today we're looking at The Invisible Man. This is part one of our series. We are looking at the original book and the 1933 movie. And Michael's going to give us a little insight into the movie.
Yeah, one take.
Or the book. I don't know. A mix of both.
Huh?
It's just a synopsis of
Tell us,
both.
tell us about it.
Honestly, the book and the 1933 movie are pretty close. There's not like a ton of differences, like overall plot-wise. There's a couple interesting ones, but yeah, I'll give you a synopsis of the book for anybody who has not read it, or if you have read it and you want a little recap. This is for you. I'll try to get through this fast. All right. Our story begins when a mysterious stranger arrives at an inn in Iping, West Sussex. I believe that's how that's pronounced.
Yeah.
Iping, West Sussex. He's got a big old coat. He's got gloves. He's got spectacles, and he's got his head entirely covered in bandages. Ooh, spooky. What's this guy's deal, huh? All right. This stranger isn't just a mysterious and secretive stranger. He's also a huge asshole. He's a real dick to like everyone in the town. He's a real piece of shit. And like everybody kind of hates him. He's just rude to kind of everybody. And they don't really take too kindly to this stranger who came into their town. And they start to wonder what this guy is hiding, what his secret is. And some mysterious stuff starts to happen in the town. A robbery occurs with seemingly no culprit. Items start to move. A disembodied coughs and sneezes. What's going on? What is this mysterious man hiding? No one knows, and we may never know. Oh, wait, sorry. It says right here he's invisible. That's what that's his secret. He's my spoilers, guys. He's invisible. He's the
What? I would have never guessed.
He's invisible. That's what he's hiding. That's what it is. He's the invisible man. Turns out, titular invisible man. And I don't want to toot my own horn. I called it. Okay, I saw it coming.
You called that he was invisible?
Yeah.
Oh.
As soon as I saw the clothes, I was like,
okay.
I bet that guy's invisible.
You're better than everyone else in the story.
Yeah. He tried to trick me. He tried to trick me into thinking he wasn't invisible, but I saw right through him.
How long were you waiting to wait now?
How many more of these do you have written down? Just curious.
No, stop. No, it's fine. I gotta get to the synopsis. All right. That one, I was so excited for that. Oh my god! All right. And then, anyways, so yeah, he's invisible, and then everybody kind of starts to piece two things together, and they suspect him, and then he gets really angry because they keep coming into his room over and over, and he reveals that he's invisible, and then they try to capture him and arrest him for like the robbery and stuff, and he kind of just like Three Stooges his way out of getting captured and gets away somehow. But he leaves his research notes, and then he finds a local kind of vagrant, like town idiot kind of guy. Thomas Marvel is his name, to help him get his research notes back. Kind of just threatens him to help him get it back. They successfully do that, and then Thomas Marvel kind of gives him the slip, gets away. And also, they name drop Thomas Marvel a lot, even though he's not super important. Anyways, they get the research notes back. And then Thomas Marvel gets away with the research notes, and he goes to another town named Port Burdock. I don't know how to say it.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that pronunciation.
Yeah, another little small town. Our invisible man chases him down, tries to kill him, but some local patrons at a bar shoot the invisible man, and he gets wounded. And then he runs away to try to recover at a nearby house. And that house happens to be inhabited by a former colleague of our invisible man, a former friend from medical school named Dr. Kemp. And then we learn that our invisible man is named Griffin, because we hadn't gotten his name up until that point. And then they, right away, Kemp is like, oh my God, this is the invisible guy that I've read so much about in the newspapers. And he like calls the police right before Griffin starts talking to him. And then the next day, Griffin proceeds to spend like 5 chapters telling Kemp about his whole life story and how he became invisible. And it is long. It's a long story. And he tells him all kinds of crazy stuff that he did. He steals an old lady's cat, turns it invisible, and lets it go. He burns his apartment down, I believe. because he can't pay rent. He doesn't want other people to find out how to turn invisible, so he burns down his apartment. He beats up a guy and steals his clothes and money. And then at the end, he's like, Kemp, I need your help, Kemp. I need you, another intelligent man, to help me take over the world. And I'm going to start a reign of terror to take over this town and then another town and the entire country, hopefully, because I'm invisible. And this is a foolproof plan. I'm invisible and nobody can stop me. And you're the only one who can help me, Kemp. Kemp's like, I'm good. And
to
then
be clear, like, he's already been shot by this point.
Yeah, he has been shot.
And yet he's like,
Yes.
I am the most powerful person.
Being invisible, and his entire backstory is him talking about how being invisible actually isn't that good. But for some reason, he's like, I'm invisible. I can take over the world, I think. I just need one other guy. Trust me. This is going to help. You're going to help me take over the world because I'm invisible. And then the police show up like mid-story. Griffin is pissed that his supposed only ally in this world, even though he never said he was going to help him, his only ally has betrayed him and called the police. And Griffin, the invisible man, storms out. He leaves. And he goes into like a manic episode and he kills a random guy for no reason. And while that's happening, Kemp talks to the police, starts giving all the police details about what he just heard, about how this guy turned invisible, how crazy he is, and kind of gives the police the rundown on how best to stop this guy. As long as you got dogs, you'll be able to sniff him out. Tell the townspeople that there's an invisible man running around, lock their doors, lock up their food. We can get this guy. And then after all that, a day later, I think, Griffin comes back to Kemp's house, tells him he's going to kill him, and he's going to be the first person to be killed in his quote-unquote reign of terror. This is verbatim. He says this multiple times. His reign of terror. And Kemp manages to survive the onslaught. The police come for backup and give Kemp enough time to escape. He runs into the local town, and Griffin gives chase. The townspeople all come together now that they have the information to stop him. And they all jump on Griffin, the invisible man, because turns out being invisible does not make you unkillable. They all jump on him. They beat him up. I think a guy hits him in the head with a shovel. And then Griffin dies. The invisible man dies. Spoilers. He dies at the end. And that's kind of it. And then there's a little epilogue with our good boy, Thomas Marvel, who he actually kept the research notes the whole time, but he is not smart enough to understand them. But he did get to keep some of the money that Griffin stole. And so he gets enough money to start a little inn called The Invisible Man, and he becomes a successful entrepreneur. Congrats, Mr. Marvel. He's the only winner in the entire story. And he gets a little inn, and then he gets like a happy ending. And that's it. That's basically the whole book.
Very nice.
Congratulations, you did
Hey,
it.
thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for a wonderful summary.
Very in-depth. More in-depth than I'm going to be next episode.
I was going to say that was way more in-depth than what I did last episode, so.
I tried.
Oh, we're both pretty in-depth. Yeah. So that was the book, released in 1897, written by H.G. So many memorable things happened in 1897. It was written by H.G. Wells, who, because of this book, he was considered the father of science fiction. That was the name he was given. And The Invisible Man has been adapted into a dozen movies and television series, and we'll touch on a few of those in these 2 episodes. So, y'all ready to learn about H.G. Wells?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Can I say really quick also, for like 95% of this book, I was like, I'm going to get on this podcast and fight Tessa because this book is not horror. This is a science fiction book.
It's very
I
science
100%
fiction.
agree.
Until the last, like, I don't know, maybe like 15% of the book. And then I was like, okay, now that we're getting into some killing and we're getting into the reign of terror, like, okay, I get it a little bit more, you know?
The whole, like, siege of the house at the end is a little
Yeah,
bit.
I get that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm glad we're talking about H.G. Wells and science fiction more because I think that's... The science is so prominent.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, 100%. This was definitely intended to be science fiction, and I believe the only reason it would be considered horror is because it falls into the Universal monster thing.
Yeah.
I feel like the movie is what set it apart and made it horror. Personally.
Really?
I think so.
More so than the book, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot more deaths.
Oh, is there? I guess.
There's a lot more.
He's so
Oh, yeah.
antagonistic.
Yeah, you're right.
He's mean in both versions, but
He's
in the
very
movie,
mean.
he is antagonistic. You know what I mean? Anyway, we should get back to Wells.
Anyway, Wells, the man, the myth, the legend. He has written more than 50 novels. He was a socialist and a pacifist, and his writings on equality and human rights influenced the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the United Nations.
Wow.
So he was very political. He was also a futurist, which is a term I just learned about.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go. And because he was a futurist, he wrote a lot of utopian novels and works that foresaw the invention of aircraft, tanks, space travel, nuclear weapons, satellite television, and the World Wide Web.
Wow.
Whoa.
A lot of cool.
Very
That's
prolific.
what we're on right now, guys.
We're on the World Wide Web.
Thanks, H.G. Wells.
He invented the internet.
He invented it.
And his science fiction imagined time travel, alien invasion, invisibility. What? Biological engineering. And yeah, these things have become very common in the genre. Here's some... Oh, one more thing. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature 4 times. Did not win.
Oh. Wait, so has he never won?
He's never won.
He
There's
got
still time.
robbed.
There's still...
believe.
might be a bit too late.
Keep trying, Wells.
You got it.
I wonder who won over him 4 times.
Yeah, the fact that we
Good
cannot
question.
name that person. Mistake.
Yeah, true. And here's the juicy stuff. So...
Yeah, let's get
the
juicy.
fun stuff.
Let's get
The
juicy.
fun stuff.
Let's get sopping wet right now.
Wait, might want to retract that when you hear what. So he married his cousin. This is the fun
Can I
stuff.
get that sound again? What did you say we should do, Michael? Just one more time.
I think we should just dry out. I don't think there should be any moisture in the room.
And it gets even better. He later separated and married his student.
Oh, sick.
At least they weren't related.
They were related.
How old was the student?
Like 20 years his senior.
His senior?
Wait,
Wait,
younger. Wait, opposite. His junior.
A student is 20 years older than.
Sorry.
Really
Okay,
cool.
and then it gets even crazier.
He's
so
still got more?
It's kind of Edgar Allan Poe core. You know what I mean?
very.
Did Edgar Allan Poe
I
had
think
some weird
some
shit going on?
writers- Oh,
They all
yeah.
did, I guess.
Oh,
back in the
yeah.
Dude, you gotta look this up after this.
Future episode.
Edgar Allan Poe. So, dude had like a lot of affairs. Like he was cheating left and right.
Oh my god.
He had a bunch of children out of wedlock while married to Jane, and he was even with birth control activist Margaret Sanger
No
for
way.
a bit.
Oh,
Yep.
hell
No
yeah.
way.
Yep. So that's some fun tea
That's
about H.G.
insane.
Wells.
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah. What a life.
I like. It's wild to me that we know about like the situationships of the 1800s. Like,
Right?
Who's keeping track of all that?
like somebody wrote down Margaret Sanger and H.G. Wells.
Surely
had a
it was
ba-
him.
Wait, did they have a baby together, or
I
did
don't.
they just?
I think they just they had a relationship.
They were just together.
I didn't see anything
Okay.
about a kid. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
knowing
she
her, that
was
makes
on
sense.
birth control,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I probably
Yeah,
not.
that's- yeah.
What a cool
Anyway,
guy.
the more you know.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this movie. Let's get into some behind the scenes of the movie.
I'm very excited.
Wells was not particularly a fan of the movie version of The Invisible Man.
The 1933.
The 1933 version.
Oh, so he was like alive.
He was alive, yeah.
Do we know how old he was when he wrote Invisible Man?
How
Oh,
old
good
he
question.
was?
You know what I mean?
don't know.
Because it was what,
That's okay, sorry.
1890 something? Was when you
Yeah,
wrote it?
1897.
1897.
The movie, yeah, he was definitely alive. He saw the movie.
Yeah, that's a decent chunk of time later for the movie to come out.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like he must have been pretty young when he wrote Invisible Man.
Yeah, probably.
Because like
That would
40 years
track.
later or whatever, or like 30. I don't know. That's like 30 years.
Yeah. He believed this characterization of the Invisible Man was too silly, too over the top. But he did like the actress who played Mrs. Hall.
Really?
So apparently that was spot on for
Really?
him.
She's
Wow.
great. She's great in the movie.
Very interesting. When reading that, I was like, but I feel like this version is very similar to your version.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
both very silly and over the top, you know?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know where
Did
the
he- I mean,
differences lie.
Me being like, did he think like you would know? Did he think
Can
that?
you ask him?
Can you ask him for me? Like, did he think his was like dramatic, or like what tone did he think
Yeah, what did he think
Yeah.
he
Like,
wrote?
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, what did he think he put out there to think that the 1933 version was the tone was incorrect? That's so interesting.
I wish I knew, because the tone is very. I mean, it's.
You don't.
I don't know, unfortunately.
I mean, I
But
guess like
I don't know what the tone was supposed to be for his book.
in the book he is like, I guess Griffin is like a little more like cold in the book. He's more like straightforward. I hate everybody. Everybody sucks all the time. And in the movie, Griffin is a little more like fun. He's a little more like
Campy.
over the top. Yeah. Like cartoon villainy.
Yes.
So maybe that's what he disliked.
I do, you know, and it's interesting how like the movie changes that, like the lighting of the matches, you know, and it's like these gimmicks that are happening.
Oh yeah, they have so much fun.
They
with
just
the
like
effects,
they're
yeah.
like, you know, it'd be cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
Continue.
The Invisible Man was produced by Universal Pictures while on the verge of bankruptcy.
Already? That's crazy.
They were losing a lot of money, and for some reason they were like, let's take on this very special effects heavy movie to get us out of our bankruptcy. It worked. I mean, it made a lot of money. And it was directed by James Whale, which we'll get into James Whale in a bit.
Yeah.
The Invisible Man movie incorporated another book as well. It's called The Murderer Invisible, and they added it to make it more gruesome,
Oh.
to add more violence to the movie.
Well, there you go.
Interesting.
I have not read The Murderer Invisible. This was my first time
It's
learning
not
about it.
It's not written by H.G. Wells. It's not connected at all. It's literally
No.
just a different.
He wrote two
It's
different
completely-
Invisible People books.
So they had the rights to both The Invisible Man and The Murderer Invisible, and
Oh,
so
okay.
they were like, why not just combine them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
why not?
Sure.
Of course.
Interesting.
Infallible logic.
I wonder what parts came from it because it feels.
It feels so close to the book.
Yeah, maybe all the stuff that I thought was like, oh, that's fun. Like the stuff they added in. There's a scene, maybe a little bit off topic. I don't know if we want to halt the research segment real quick.
Oh, it's fine. Go.
There's like a scene they take really good advantage of the fact that he's invisible in the movie. They just constantly are having so much fun with all the effects. There's like scenes where they'll have like a whole room full of people like pick up a net and like walk across the room in a line and back to make sure like he's not in the room. There's like fun shit that's not in the book. Maybe they got that from the other book. All the like weird
Maybe.
ideas that they have.
That
are,
is so dope.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking it's like, because he goes on a spree at the end of the movie. Like, he goes crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the train and
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, that stuff wasn't in the book, so I'm wondering if that was from The Murder Invisible.
And the whole like
I'm not
scene
sure.
with Kemp is not at all in the book. In the movie, spoilers, the movie, Kemp like dies. He like kills him in like a car accident, like off a cliff.
Is Kemp, like, officially, he's dead? He doesn't return after that?
Yeah, the car like explodes. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
doesn't show up again.
Right.
He just
Crazy that
fully
they would-
kills him in the movie.
Which is
Whoa.
not like because in the book it's strangulation, right? Or it's,
Kemp is alive.
He's alive by the end.
no, but that he like tries to strangle
He
him,
tries to
and then
strangle him.
the Invisible Man dies.
Yes.
Not Kemp.
Yeah, Kemp is like the reason like the town gets rid of the Invisible Man in the book.
Right.
But in the movie, Kemp is like almost
Deceased.
inconsequential. Yeah, he just gets killed in like a ties him up and then like lets a car run off a cliff
They
with
also
Kemp in
like
it.
yeah.
So maybe that's from the other book because that's totally out of nowhere.
Perhaps. Yeah, I'm not sure. It just said it. They were added into different elements to make it more gruesome, but it didn't dive into exactly what. So I could have done more research into The Murder Invisible, but I thought that was interesting. Of course, Claude Rains plays the Invisible Man,
King.
and he was originally a stage actor, which you can definitely see by
Oh,
his
yeah.
mannerisms and
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Fun fact, he notoriously had a terrible screen test that made him uncastable in Hollywood, but Whale took a chance on him, and I'm so
he was
thankful.
like, "You should be invisible."
Yeah. We should not see your face
Like, you'd
until
be
the
perfect
ending.
for
I
this
got
character
boy
where
do I got the
there's
role
no
for you,
acting.
bud.
Yeah. We just need you to say things in voiceover, and that's
That's it.
we don't
And
need any face.
speaking of his voice, his iconic booming voice is part of the reason he got the role. And
tracks.
it derived from being gassed in World War I, which caused vocal cord damage.
Oh,
So that's how he got such a unique voice that
He got
doesn't really
gassed
sound
in
British,
World
but
War I?
doesn't sound, it's kind of
His
all over
transatlantic
the
accent.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
old Hollywood.
So that's what I got about the movie. let's talk about James Whale for a little bit.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
This was interesting. So he's a horror director, even though he didn't like being called one.
Oh.
He's also known for Frankenstein. So he's definitely in that Universal
Yeah. Also Universal Monsters.
world. Yeah.
He also directed like the old school Frankenstein.
OG.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he's got Frankenstein and the Invisible Man under his belt. They originally wanted Boris Karloff to be the Invisible Man, the guy who played Frankenstein, but he was too expensive. He had other projects going on.
Frankenstein was too expensive.
Yes. Yeah. And they were going bankrupt. So, like, they didn't want to.
For sure.
We
They
need
don't
to get
want to
this
spend too much money.
failing actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get
We
him in
can't-
here.
We can't bring in Frankenstein. Let's get this other guy who can't work anymore. Let's get Robert Downey Jr. to play the Invisible Man.
Oh my God, where'd that come from?
Robert Downey Jr.?
Why'd you think of Robert Downey Jr.?
It was like the same thing with him, where he was like a outcast in Hollywood, and then Jon Favreau was like, "Oh, let me just take a shot on this guy to play Iron Man."
You're so right.
Yeah.
That's some good Hollywood trivia.
Yeah.
Is this speaking to you as a Marvel fan?
You know,
Yeah.
we talked about that last episode.
We did
right?
talk about how much Sam loves Marvel. And how
Right.
she's seen every single movie.
Right.
Yeah. Who's your favorite superhero, Sam?
Batman.
Yeah, actually, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah, my
That is
favorite.
canon.
Yeah.
My favorite superhero is
I
Batman.
remember.
Thank you.
So while we were watching, we watched the movies together, and we were like, the Invisible Man's a little fruity. This is
Right.
relevant. This is relevant to what
Is this still the research section?
Yes,
or-
this is relevant.
This will
I'm
tie
trying to
back
set
into
up.
the
I'm trying to
research.
set
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Okay,
We're-
got it.
What a way to jump into it.
Like the way he just moves and like his outfits, and it was just like there's a vibe about him.
Yeah, he's very flamboyant. In
Yeah.
just the
You
way
think
that
he's
Yes.
never a single scene or is his entire hand clenched. He will either have two fingers up or just a pinky up or one of these whenever he's grabbing his glasses or he's grabbing a doorknob. He's just very like delicate with the way he moves. And it was like an interesting choice that we noticed.
Yes.
As we were like watching the movie, I was like, oh, I wonder if they like directed him to do that, because he's always doing. He's like extremely, very flourishy with the way he moves, and he's also very drippy. He's got a lot of drip in the movie.
He is very
Ooh.
drippy.
Yeah. But anyways, continue.
And so Michael was like, maybe look up the director and like maybe he was gay.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
What?
no.
That's how it went.
It is how it went, but it was like mostly. It was like half a joke because we were like talking about it, and we were like, "Oh, it is kind of interesting that was like a choice that was made." And I like half jokingly it was like, "Oh, maybe that's like a metaphor, like that's inserted that like, oh, he feels like he's not seen because he's like gay in the very old times, maybe something like that." And I was like half joking because we thought at the time that it was just like a silly directorial choice to have him be very flamboyant. And I was like half joking. And then
Is the director queer?
Yeah.
Really?
yeah.
He was openly gay through the 20s and 30s, which was like unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
So that's
Well, I mean,
what
we'll
I
never,
learned about James
We'll never know
Whale.
if that's like intentional necessarily, but it adds another layer.
It does, yeah. Because seriously, it was like mostly like a bit, like because it was just like funny. We were like, oh, he's walking around kind of goofy, and then we like, and then
that's one way to say it.
and then like,
Jack that.
and, like develop, like we slowly were like, well, wait, maybe it was intentional, and then we were like, oh, you did research and
Because
like,
it's
no.
so consistent.
Yes, it isn't like a one-time thing. It's very consistent throughout the whole movie, the way he acts. And I was like, oh, maybe there's a little more to this.
We think
And
the
then
director applied himself and his personality.
potentially, yeah. I don't know if there's any
so.
interviews with him like talking about.
Well,
Did you
it
find
was
anything
the
like that?
30s, right? So
Yeah, there was nothing about like people basically talked about how his queerness might have influenced the way he directed Frankenstein, but they didn't get into the Invisible Man, which I thought was interesting.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Frankenstein, so I don't know. Oh, and Bride of Frankenstein, he also directed that, and so
Okay.
people were like, this influenced Bride of Frankenstein as well, but nothing about the Invisible Man. So I don't know. All right, that was my research.
wow, very
Incredible
good.
research.
Thank you.
Great research.
Thank you.
As always.
I
As
wanted
always.
to find the most interesting things that stood out to me. So
Those were very interesting.
yeah, are y'all ready to get into the book versus movie?
Oh, absolutely.
No, you're stoked.
I'm like I'm like itching to get into. I just have to talk about Flora. That's my.
Oh boy.
Dude, let's get into Flora.
Should we start with that?
Let's start with Flora, sure.
Okay.
That was one of the first things I wrote anyway.
Because I was so also at the time that I watched the 1933 movie, I hadn't finished reading the book, and so I was like, at the end of the book, are we gonna like find out he's had like a love interest this entire time? Like, what is this framing
Nope.
device?
Nope.
No, completely fictionalized for the movie.
Yeah.
And also like the actress, it's just so 1920s and 30s the way that she performed.
Oh, to clarify for those who have not seen the movie and read the book, in the movie they just introduce a female love interest
Right,
for
sorry.
not only Griffin the Invisible Man but Kemp.
Yep.
Right.
both like her.
They share the same love interest, and this adds a layer of tension that completely does not exist in the book.
She doesn't exist in the
She's
books at
also
all.
if I'm not mistaken, she's the daughter of their like shared
Yeah,
professor figure.
Yes, who's
Like,
also not in the book.
their research
Yes.
lead who does not exist in the book. The daughter is in love with Jack Griffin, who also is he's named Jack Griffin in the movie, I'm pretty sure, and then he's
Yeah, he
named
has a first name.
Yeah, they don't give
Yeah.
him first names in the book. I don't even think
they
Kemp
just
gets a
call
first
him
name.
Griffin
No.
and Kemp. Yeah, so Jack Griffin, she's always like, what happened to Jack? And I was like, who is Jack? And then I realized she was talking about Griffin.
The Invisible Man.
Which is, it's a choice. It's just so Hollywood.
Yes.
It's just so classic movie Hollywood of them to be like, but we need him to be in love with somebody.
Which is
And also
another
her.
reason why I started to like lean more on like it started to become like less of a joke because I was like, oh wait, I wonder if that was like a studio decision to be like, give him a female love
give him
interest.
a love interest.
Yeah, make sure he looks straight.
Because they had no chemistry whatsoever.
No.
Like the
No.
way he's like sitting next to her, just like all straight backed and like, yes, my love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's the main thing. Like when I was watching it, where I was like, "What?" Like, but I did really like the movie. I
I did as
thoroughly
well.
enjoyed the movie.
I had a
Yeah.
blast.
I had a great time. And by the way, if you want to watch the movie at home, actually, if you want to watch the movie at home, I found out that I can do that. If you want to watch the movie at home, it's on YouTube for free. That's how I watched it.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
it has ads, but you can fully just watch the movie for free, and it's great. And you
Highly
should
recommend
Yeah.
it. It's
Yes.
a fun time. There's a lot of extras that do crazy things, have crazy line deliveries.
The extras are the stars.
They
of the
are
film.
so fun. So
Yeah.
highly recommend it.
I bet it was just so fun to be in that movie. It's just
Oh, I
like
bet.
smallish
Had to have been,
cast,
yeah.
and like it's really not in that many locations. I feel. I mean, I'm sure they were
No.
using sets back then, not like going places. I don't know.
Especially like the mansion that like Kemp is in. I was
Yeah,
joking about
yeah.
it every time.
that was insane.
Dude, that set is crazy. It makes no sense. There's like walls that like just stop existing like halfway through. At some point, they're in like a really nice parlor room. He opens a door and it's just like the forest. Like there's just trees out like hanging into the door. It's like, where are you? Where? It's so funny the sets they use,
Yeah.
and they have just a blast with all the effects.
Oh yes, you can tell they're having fun. I was so interested in the product. I mean, in every version of Invisible Man, the production design and the prop movement is so interesting because it's. I mean, in our next episode, we'll talk about the 2020 version, and of course, we have a lot more resources at our disposal than previous versions. So it's so interesting to see in the 30s and the 60s and like every version where they're like, oh, he doesn't have a head and he like takes off the bandages and it's like, oh, he's lighting a thing and it's so. And in the 1933 version, it's like there's like this clear like outline
Yes,
of
yeah.
him every time he's like moving around.
Yeah.
And
So
sometimes they
cool.
don't even like cut him out. They just have him in like a black mask, and they'll just kind of have him like in a dark area, and they don't even like cut him out. They're just like, you won't notice.
No,
it.
but it's like it's cool
No,
though.
yeah,
it's
it's,
the
like,
kind of thing
really
where you
sick.
appreciate it when you
Yeah.
when you're watching it now. Where you're just like that. Listen, if I was born in 1920. Stop. If I was born in 1927 and I was like 15 or whatever, and I watched that movie,
Mind
would, like,
blown.
change
oh my
your
god,
life,
I
yeah.
would have been obsessed. I would have thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
You know the story that people tell, like when the first ever movie released in theaters, and it was like a train.
Yeah.
And then people like freaked out and left the theater because they thought a train was gonna hit them. Like
Yeah.
I can't even imagine watching this movie.
Oh yeah, my mind would
Like,
have been
oh
blown.
my god,
he's
that guy-
not
They
there.
found an invisible actor.
Yeah.
How did they get him, dude?
How did they find him?
How did you even see him? How'd you get him?
was definitely not meant to be seen in HD, though. You can see
No.
some of the wires,
there's some
and I was like,
wires and
oh
stuff.
no.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
But it looks. I'm sure they
adds
had
to it,
fun.
though.
I
Was
hope they had
was
fun.
it like there's a scene where like a bike is like running down a street
Yeah.
and you could just you just
See
see
the
the whole
wires on
setup.
right?
It's a cool shot though.
Right.
Yeah. It's so funny that they're clearly like, we got to get as much mileage out of this invisible thing as we can.
I mean, good.
Yeah, anytime he's like invisible in a room, they will just have every prop in the scene do like a trick. Like, it doesn't even make sense. He's like trying to escape, and for some reason, a pen will flip and like the window will open, and then he'll walk out the door. It's like, what are you doing, man? If you're just thinking about it logically, like, why is
Normal
he just,
human activities.
yeah, he's just like flailing around. But it's like, but no, he's invisible. We gotta make it cool. We gotta have the scene be cool. So they just move every prop in the room. It's so fun.
I love that the chaos he causes is
Yeah.
so random. Like in one moment he'll push over a baby carriage,
Yeah.
and the other he'll throw off someone's hat. It's like it's so random what he chooses
He'll
to
steal
do.
a bike and then ride down a street for like 20 feet and then get off the bike and
No,
run.
literally. I have to say also, there was a line, I wrote this down because I loved it so much. He goes, I'm afraid I need this bicycle. Ha! Like,
Oh my god, the voiceover. We can't.
it's so good. And you know what, though?
Holy.
You know what, though? When he goes to the bank and he robs them and he's throwing money out
yeah.
on the streets, yes. Support this man. Why is he a villain? He's literally giving wealth to the people.
Yeah. Let's forget about the baby he just threw on the ground.
We're not going to talk about that. But
right.
listen, wealth distribution.
Yeah. True.
He's a socialist. Like, what's not to like?
The Invisible
I
Man
mean,
is
he was
progressive.
kind of racist.
Oh,
but-
in the book also. Oh my god. Oh, the N-word drop.
Oh,
The
Another one.
constant, the
Hey.
Another
constant
one.
referencing to Jewish people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, whoa.
Hey guys, at home,
Wells.
we're 2 for 3 with the things we covered having N-words in them.
Really?
We're really picking them. It's really cool. Hard R, baby. This shit was sick.
It's crazy, and it's for no reason. It is so weird. It's so
It's so out of
inappropriate.
It's unbelievable.
And because I was listening to the audiobook, I like dropped it. I was like, what? Like,
I like rewound. I was like, "There's no shot. He just dropped that." In a conversation, casual conversation. Okay,
you rewound it?
yeah, dude.
Wanted to get it another listen in, huh?
Yeah, I was
Cool.
like, "Hold on." Maybe he said that, and maybe I missed it. Maybe he said it, and it was way more interesting. No, he just
My
dropped it.
eyes widened. I was
Yeah.
like, shocked.
Good time. You know, we're
Same
good.
thing-
We're good at picking our.
Same thing with the Jewish
Oh, yeah.
people mentions, where it's like the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time it happens, you're like, oh, that was like kind of weird. And then it happens again, and you're like, ah,
Oh yeah,
that's really aggressive.
yeah.
That's from the narrator. It's like, actually, no, I think it's from Griffin. I think it's from Griffin both times.
It is from Griffin.
Yeah, it's from Griffin.
So
from
Griffin is
Griffin every time.
canonically anti-Semitic.
Yeah. He's not a good guy.
See, okay,
Turns
see
out.
now I'm switching sides. I don't really like Griffin.
I figured you'd switch.
Once I remembered that he was anti-Semitic. At first, I was like, oh, he's giving people money.
Oh no, he wanted money for himself.
Yeah.
In the book,
But in the movie, he just starts throwing it in the streets.
yeah, in the movie he's like more of a chill
He's
dude.
he's like in the movie he's like a what do you call it? Like he just wants to create chaos.
Yeah, he's a little goof. He's a little goober
That
in the movie.
works too. That's not what I was gonna say, but yes.
Except for they keep the part it seems out of character, honestly, when we're watching the movie that they keep in the part that he wants to start a reign of terror and like take over the world, because in the movie up till that point he hasn't really been that bad of
I
a guy.
agree. It's like I felt that way in the book too. I was just like, I don't really feel like this whole reign of terror. Well, in the movie though, he's like, there's gonna be armies of invisible people, and like he has this whole like plan. He's a little bit more of an action item list than he does in the book.
Yes.
In the
But
book, he's like chaos.
in the movie it feels a little more out of nowhere, because up to that point he's just trying to not be invisible, which in both versions that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to be
He's
able
trying to
to
get
turn
his research. He's trying to get his
so he can figure out a way to not be invisible all the time. He wants to be able to switch back and forth and not have to be invisible.
right. But in the movie, we learned that the ingredient he's using to make himself invisible also causes madness.
Yes.
Which is not in the book. Which is
Yes.
why I think
Yeah.
we're supposed to derive this like he's going insane
Yeah, he's
throughout
going
the movie.
crazy.
We're supposed to get that he's getting mentally like more convoluted, and that's why he gets these more twisted ideas of what he can do in reality. Whereas in the book, he's really just a man who's invisible.
He's just a
guy
psychotic person.
Yeah.
Who is like a
who
narcissist.
is a chemist
yeah.
and makes himself invisible.
They explicitly state in the movie that it is the chemicals that make him crazy. In the book, there's like a little something that's kind of ambiguous when he's like describing his whole life story to Kemp. And he's telling him in,
Oh my god, it was such a long
explicit
section of the
detail.
book. Like for like genuinely like 2 hours of the audiobook.
Yes, it's crazy. It's so long. But he's like in explicit detail how he became the Invisible Man. There is like a section where he like is turning invisible, where he talks about how like the pain was so intense, like I thought my mind was going or something like that. So maybe it is ambiguous that like his transformation did kind of like aggravate his already narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they just straight up say like, no, he was a cool dude, and then he became invisible and went crazy.
Right. You know,
I did write that down. That in the book, Griffin was always just a douchebag.
Yes.
But he preferred to like even work in isolation and did not want to share in his success. And the drug, I'm pretty sure, like you said, it intensified his madness and his craziness. But in the movie, the drug exclusively made him mad. And honestly, I kind of, if I'm going to choose which version of that I think I like the idea of him just always being crazy. Because in the movie, they try to, they give him this love interest, these people that care about him, and they try to make him a victim in a way. But I'm like, I just want him to be crazy. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to give him a reason why.
Yeah, and just to like build on that, and also talking about the transformation, we didn't really talk about first impressions this episode, but I will say, like, I wasn't familiar with the source material before this. I'd only seen the 2020 complete redone version of this story. I just heard of the Invisible Man. So when I was reading this, I really didn't realize that it's like, no, literally, he's just a guy who became invisible.
Yeah.
He runs around naked, and that's how he's invisible. And he's not cursed, he's just a man. And like, that's so
An invisible man.
He's an invisible man. Yeah, but like, it's like, I think he talks about it in the book. It's like when snow falls on him, you can see him. He's just a dude, and he eats. And he's like, he's really, at the end of the day, a serial killer more than he is a monster.
Yeah.
He's just a man who kills other things,
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I forgot exactly what you said. It reminded me of that though. That like, oh, the idea that he's like crazy, like, or that he's predestined to be like a killer,
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you guys, which version you liked more, but that's the version I like.
I would say I prefer book version of Griffin in terms of an antagonist. Like, he's just more fun than
as
he's
a
crazy.
serial killer. Yeah.
He's just like he's just an asshole. He's just like a selfish, completely like narcissistic douche.
Right.
Because the fun part is, I think he like in that whole explanation of he's telling his whole life story to Kemp. I like mention it where he's like talking about all the crazy shit he did. He like stole an old lady's cat, experimented on it. He like robbed people. He like broke into a guy's house, stole his clothes, beat him up, put him in a sack, and then left him. And then he's telling all this shit to Kemp. And then at the end of it, he goes, Kemp, can't you see how hard it is for me? Can't you see how difficult it's been for me these past few weeks?
Okay.
Like this past month, I've been invisible, Kemp.
It's so hard for me being an invisible white guy.
The world is
Kemp.
against me. Can't you see how much the world has been against me?
I have a different take. I have to say, like, not that I thought that he's valid. I do not think the Invisible Man is valid. Let that be on the record.
This fictional character
is not valid. However, like, what would you do?
No. I understand.
You know what I mean?
His choices are logical.
He can't get a job.
But he turned himself invisible.
He turned himself invisible.
He didn't get cursed, like you said. He literally locked himself up, didn't pay anybody. Like,
he didn't pay rent.
He didn't pay rent, locked himself in a room, and was like, I need to turn myself invisible so I can be famous, so nobody else can know this. I have to be the one to discover this. He, like, the whole time.
He didn't think it through.
No, he literally just was so focused on becoming invisible and how cool that is. He didn't think for a second, like, oh shit, how do I not be invisible after that? Oh my God, I gotta
or
be
like,
invisible.
what am I gonna do when other human beings can't
other
see
people
me and I need money and food to live?
Yeah, and I gotta walk around and eat. And he's like, oh.
Now, see, like, because I'm like listening to his 2-hour monologue, and I'm like, okay, yeah, not valid, right? But again, like, if I was invisible, me projecting, I fear that I would have to steal. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
like, what
that's
else can you do?
understandable.
So it's like he is super self-centered, but at the same time, like, I'm not saying I would kill people. I don't think I would, but
Don't think you would.
I'm not invisible. What can I say?
Yeah.
Thank you, but for agreeing with me, I'm assuming that I was agreeing.
Yeah, you are.
But yeah, I don't know. I just like in his situation, like, I wouldn't be the vile person. I like to think, But I probably would steal. And I probably would like steal food and money and clothes from other human beings because otherwise I can't like go to the store.
And push babies too.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'd have to think about that one. It depends. Is it in my way? Is it crying? So anyway, I sympathize with
He's kind of a cool dude if you really think about it. If you really break it down,
agree?
he's kind of a cool
No,
guy.
I just have to put that out there because, like, even though he is just so antagonistic and like mean the entire time, like, I felt bad for him a little bit.
Yeah, no, like, to be clear, yes, I think that's kind of his only option because everybody who ever sees him immediately thinks he's like a demon or something and tries to...
Right. It's like if he is wearing clothes and he's all bandaged, people are weirded out by him. And then if he's not, they can't see him, so they can't help him.
Yeah, but like my whole thing is, it's not like he was trying to like cure cancer and he's like, oh fuck, I'm invisible now. No, the whole time he was like, I'm gonna be invisible, and then I'm gonna really take advantage of the fact that I'm invisible.
Well,
it's gonna be awesome.
That's the book version, but in the movie, I'm pretty sure they say that they are trying to cure illness, and that's what their lab is like.
Oh,
made
maybe
to
the
do.
movie. Yeah, actually, I don't remember what they say in the movie for why.
Yeah, I don't.
I
recall
thought they
that.
said that they were like,
I think you
oh,
might
we
be right.
work on, this is a lab where we work on, it's not just curing illness, but it was one of the things that they named that they like do. But he was not doing that. He was doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But like where he worked, that was like one of the things about like why there, which is also interesting. I have to say, gonna slightly shift here. I love the aesthetics of like movie science.
Oh, yeah.
Old movie science.
Beakers.
Exactly. Like
of
the lab
swirly
coats.
tubes.
And it's like, oh, like here we are, like making potions, and it's like, yeah, like because it's like movie science, you know what I mean? Like no comment on the actual science that was going on at that time. But
Wasn't great.
no, it was not. And I don't want not what this is about. This is just about in the 1933 movie where they're sitting around with their little beakers and they're clinking them together and they're like, look at my book. Like I love that. That's awesome. I want to work in that
Wild.
lab.
That's wild. But with that actor that like is just so monotone and has no facial expressions whatsoever.
Oh, like
You'd want to work with him.
The senior like doctor guy?
Yeah.
Dude, he's so funny.
my God.
Zero emotion in any of his line deliveries. It's so
He
fun.
doesn't care.
No.
His daughter's like crying. Like, where's Jack? He's like,
It's like there.
yeah.
That's the extent of his emotional
Daughter is also
connection.
crying in every scene she's
That's
in.
true.
She
I bet
is-
he's kind of sick of it.
That's the and that's
He's done.
yeah. That's the thing about
valid.
Flora is that like she's so obviously forced into the movie for like
Yeah.
this is love interest. You know, it's not like not that they would humanize her. It's 1933, but like it's also so just over the top and exaggerated and not in the book. It's just so obviously like slapped on.
They replaced Mr. Marvel with
Yes,
her.
that's
It's an
true.
Interesting difference. Like he's not in the movie at
He's
all.
not.
Right.
You think that's what that is? You think that's what Flora's supposed to be
That's
a placeholder?
interesting. I thought that they kind of combined Kemp
exactly.
and Marvel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kemp and Marvel was combined, but in terms of like, oh, they took this character out completely and then added a new one.
Right.
You know what I
Yes.
mean?
In terms of like, yes, in terms of the presence of the character. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Kemp, in the book, he appears like in two-thirds of it. Like, he
Right.
appears in the later half, is what I mean.
Yeah.
But in the movie, he is prominent, and like from the get-go,
Right.
he is a part of it. Do
Yeah.
you have any thoughts on that?
I do actually. It's funny to me that this is probably the second novel now that we've read and then watched the movie adaptation where they introduce a character that doesn't appear until later as a framing device. You know, they did that with Misery as well with the police, and
Yeah.
they do it here. It's like it's. I don't know if that's going to be a trend when we keep reading more books and seeing more movies, but I do think it's interesting that we've read two recently where like it almost seems like a strategy choice in terms of like the movie and the screenwriters. I don't know if it's that common or not, but it's something I hadn't really noticed before. But that's what I took it to be. It's a strategy choice to create tension because if you don't know that Kemp's coming and you don't know that there's going to be this like moment where they like interact, then you're kind of just watching this mean guy who's invisible. But if
Yeah.
you do know that Kemp is coming, then you know that there's going to be a confrontation.
Because it also gives us like a person to like follow on screen. Because
Mm-hmm.
the book for like until Kemp shows up, the book is almost like reads like it's an account from like a police report
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
The narration is like, and then this woman stated this, and then like
Right.
the locals state that they saw this happen or something. It's like almost like a weird. The way it's delivered is like that. So I think adding Kemp in early to have like another character to be like, here's a guy on screen.
Right.
It's not just narration of like this guy's doing wacky stuff. I think
Smart.
probably smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book is for those who haven't read it, it's like recounting the events that took place. So like asking people what they saw in terms of the Invisible Man. Going back to Kemp, I want to finish my thoughts on Kemp.
Yeah.
Because in the book, he's very much like a rational character. And in the movie, he's very sleazy. I wonder why they changed his characterization so much.
Yeah, he's just a totally different person
Yeah.
in the movie. In the book, he's like very composed, very like logical, rational. He's like immediately reads the newspaper about what Griffin has done and is like, I'm calling the police. This guy's crazy. What? And then he just like distracts him and lets him give his whole spiel for like a whole day until the police show up. And then as soon as Griffin leaves, the first thing he does is like, hey, tell everyone in town about all this guy's like weaknesses, get dogs, put glass on the road if you have to. Like, I'm like, Jesus.
He was smart.
Yeah, he like immediately comes up with plans to like start getting this guy taken out.
Actionable items. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's very efficient in this book and in the movie. They have like a plan about all the time.
Yeah, it's really like cool. In the book, he is the reason why like Griffin eventually loses, because the townspeople like are prepped and ready to deal with an invisible guy running into town.
Right. And well, also because like Griffin literally is like, these are all my weaknesses.
Yeah, he tells him everything.
You trust me, right? Like, we're besties now. And then he's like, I don't even know you. And like,
he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
I love that about him, though.
But see, that's the thing, is like, that makes me feel bad for him, because I'm like, why'd you tell that guy that? Like, why did you do that?
Why are you so stupid?
Like,
I feel bad for
you're
you.
gonna get caught. I mean, stop killing people, but like think a little bit. You know,
No, that's what makes him like fun though, is because he is like constantly being like, oh, these peasants of this town, these idiots, these fools, nobody gets me. Oh my God, Kemp? Oh, I know you from high school or whatever. Like, I'm gonna tell you my whole plan. It's like, you just met him, bro. What are you doing?
It's true.
He's a funny dude. He's a little goofy guy.
He is a goofy. Also, I have a question. This is a random question. There is nothing else tied to this question. Is Griffin canonically German? Because he calls Flora Fräulein in the movie. And also, this is 1933 when this came out. And I'm just curious about what is going on there.
Well, hold on. History, if my history is correct, Germans weren't bad at the time.
At the time of World War II?
1933 is not World War II. Is World War II started yet in 33?
Maybe we should.
Or are we in
Yeah,
between?
let's fact check this real quick.
Because I'm trying to remember, because in 30, oh boy, here we go, history time.
Stock market crash, 29. Got that one.
Had 33 started up the war?
That's what I'm trying to remember right now.
I don't think so.
Well, also, the U.S. wouldn't have been in the war in 1933.
Shaking your head over there.
1939.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like
45.
way off. I was just curious about why Griffin is German in the movie when he's British in the book.
Yeah. Interesting. Is he, or did he just say...
I don't know why he calls her Fräulein if not.
Also, everyone's
He's like
accents in
Flora
the movie are like a
Fräulein.
little bit not.
They're not correct.
No.
There's a lot of Americans in this small British town.
Which they say is England multiple times.
Yeah.
That was my question. Thank you for entertaining that for a minute.
Well, no, I have a question too, also about Griffin.
What's your question?
Did you guys like that he was albino?
Great
albino
question.
representation. Don't
It's
get
so-
to see that a lot.
It's so
True.
confusing. Well, is it albino representation? Is this movie
Is there
representation
anybody-
at all?
Can you think of any other albinos in media? Exactly.
But
It's
like,
all
he,
they
but
got.
he's not even albino in the movie.
No, I mean it's black and white, so you can't really tell. But
But
he
he's
has
black
black
hair.
hair, so yeah,
No.
he's not in the movie. Never mind.
I thought I had a guy. I thought I had a
Forget
guy.
it.
I will say they like in the book. This is also why I sometimes feel bad for Griffin, because like in the book, there's this one part where like the town folk are like talking about why he's in bandages, and they're like, well, maybe he has like a skin disease, and then I'm pretty sure one of them is like, well, maybe he's biracial, and he's like,
Did somebody say
That's
that?
so right.
you know what I'm talking about? Where they say it's like diet racism, but it's not the hard R that comes up later in the book.
Yeah,
but
Griffin's responsible for that
Yeah,
one.
thanks, Griffin. But you know what I'm talking about? Where they
Yeah,
like
alopecia, right? They were questioning if he had alopecia.
oh, is that what they were saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so I misinterpreted that.
Yeah.
Again, this man's British voice it threw me off on a few things. Okay, but basically they were like, okay, we think he has alopecia, and which is interesting. I feel that it's like they're like, oh, this dude must be embarrassed. That must be why he's wearing bandages.
Oh
'Cause
no,
he's-
it comes up because I think it's Mrs. Hall, the owner of the inn. She sees like his mouth without his mask on, and she describes it as being like pure black, or like his leg or something. Being pure black.
Right.
And then somebody says like, oh, but his nose is pink because he has a fake nose.
Right.
In the book. He has like
Which
a
he
fake,
throws at them.
Yes. Everybody says his nose is like pink colored. It's like, but no, we see his nose is and then they make that comment about, oh, maybe he has like a skin condition where he has like different
Right.
tones
It's
of
like,
skin.
of course, that would justify why he's in bandages. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say about the fact that he is albino, because it seems like the only reason his experiment works in the book is because he's albino.
Yes.
Because it wouldn't have worked on anybody except him. But it also
it
seems
only, to clarify, it only would work on things that are really light.
Right.
Right.
Which also I still don't understand why that worked on his organs.
You know, that's a good point.
There was a lot of like sci-fi mumbo jumbo, and I was having a good
Right.
time listening to it. But yeah, it was
like there were a lot. I'm like, I can tell they're explaining it right now, but I don't really like care to like actually work out the details, because if I do, then I feel like I'll like have issues, which I do. Which is, again, I understand that his skin pigment might be one thing, but his organs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He says the chemicals changes the pigment of your blood, so I assume that would affect your organs.
Science segment. So, like, why are your organs the color they are?
Right, because that's the reason all of anything we
History,
have.
science.
This
Basically,
is like
school.
you don't need to go to school. I was gonna say, like, just listen to the pod.
You don't need to go to school.
Well, you obviously do need to go to school, because then you might have answers to the things that we're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of like the choice of him being albino,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Choice, yeah.
It was a choice. I don't really know. I'm not albino, evidently, for our viewers at home. Like, I get why in the science of it he decided to do that. I don't know that there is a statement attached to that. Like, I have no idea. Like,
it doesn't feel like there's any message behind it.
I don't think it doesn't seem like there is.
It feels like H.G. Wells was just like, how do I make somebody invisible? And he was like, oh, there's some cool stuff I learned about skin pigments and how our blood interacts with that.
Right.
But then how do you? But there's some stuff that wouldn't change pigments. Like, albino. If he's albino, he has different like pigmentation.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's some fun mumbo jumbo that can make this invisible stuff work. That's
Right.
literally all it feels like.
Is it a Deus Ex Machina that he's albino? Like, or not a Deus Ex Machina, you know what I mean? But it's like, is it a little too convenient? Because it's like, why did the albino person come up with the way to become invisible? Why not his partner Kemp?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It just feels like a writing choice.
Yeah.
There's like seems to be no message attached to it.
That's
at all.
I get the same impression. I don't think that there's meant to be meaning. I'm not sure if one could derive meaning from it.
To give credit to his writing, I do like the fact that even though obviously it's not scientifically accurate, he really does try.
Yeah.
And he explains and goes into so much detail where you're like, yeah, I could believe it. I buy it.
Yeah,
It's
know?
like
It's true.
solid.
Yeah.
You can tell like that was the part of the book where I was the most like, oh, this is science fiction.
Yes.
He is going in right now.
Yes.
Because I made a joke about it in the summary of how he spends so long about his life story, about like learning how he became invisible. But it's all just like him explaining science that sounds pretty good. He's like, oh, if you put glass in water, you can't see it, right? So you just got to make your own skin
Right.
and pigment match the light refraction of the air around you. And if you can do that, then you'll technically be invisible. And it's like, well, how do you do that? And then it's so much like not real science, but it sounds good enough that you're like,
Pseudoscience.
okay, yeah, for sure. Somebody could do this, maybe.
Well, he also did War of the Worlds, right?
Yes.
So he
Yeah.
also did.
War of the World is cool.
He's you know, I trust him. And I do have to say, to Wells's credit, like, he made a character that we're over 100 years later, like well over 100 years later, that can be interpreted in so many different ways and applied in so many different ways. And that's like crazy.
True.
It's a fun book. It's a good book.
Yeah,
Oh, you don't like it? We have our resident hater here today.
Yeah, I've been good so far.
You have been very positive
Yeah.
so far, I have to
I've been
say.
very positive. I will say most of the book was excruciatingly boring. For me.
Oh my God, I agree.
Yeah.
I started it like a month ago and I finished it today.
It took me forever to read it. Like, way longer than it took me to read Misery or My Best Friend's Exorcism. And it's way shorter.
It is. It's a 5-hour audiobook for those who want to read it. Not that we're selling it right now, but, you know, it is very short, and I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
I got there with that bad boy in a day.
Yeah.
Really? You
On
loved it?
Tuesday.
Michael loves The Invisible
I had a
Man.
fun time. I think because I listened to the audiobook as well.
Oh, okay.
As we've established, I don't read. And
Can you read? Just like,
on occasion.
oh.
But I listened to the audiobook and I thought it was like really fun listening to that audio, like the guy doing the voiceover do his crazy British accent. It's so British.
Did we listen to the same one? I just want to check.
Maybe you're on Audible.
No, but
Oh,
it could be the same one. You don't know. Give me a chance.
but no, I think I had a fun. I listened to it in one day, got through it. I had a pretty good. It was really short, pretty concise.
Yeah, that's true.
The only thing is that it's like so British that some of the dialogue is a little bit like, what did they just say? What does that mean?
Yeah.
What did they just say? And then you're just like, whatever. You just keep moving.
Well, what was interesting too about the audiobook is there were some words that were like added or removed from the physical text I was reading.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
we might have a different. Okay, wait. Is it
So-
James Adams?
James Adams.
Is that your guy?
The voiceover?
Yeah.
I'm actually, that doesn't sound like it. Probably a different guy.
Dang.
Hold on. Audio voice actor recognition check. Hold up. Props to the voice actors.
Yeah. No, shout out to the voice actors. I'm sorry that the text you read did not intrigue me, but I do think that you did a good job. I just want to know if our British men were the same because I do think it impacted my experience. Yeah, James
Oh, no,
Adams.
the same guy. Yeah.
Same audiobook.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there you go.
And so you liked him?
I did like him. Yeah. I thought he was fun.
I just thought he was really British. Which there's nothing wrong with. If you're really British, love yourself.
To all of our British listeners.
British listeners.
Y'all say
Love
some things
yourself.
weird. Sometimes.
It's
But
just-
we say
You do.
things weird too.
You know
Everybody
what?
says
You know what?
things
I'm
weird.
saying it wrong. This is what I should be saying. He was very posh. And I think that
Yeah.
listening to someone so posh read text from over 100 years ago was a slightly more difficult experience than reading Stephen King's Misery.
100%. I was wondering, one of the questions I was going to ask is if you guys had difficulty understanding the language used in the book.
Evidently, I did because I've misinterpreted multiple things we've talked about so far. Go ahead, Michael.
Some of it, I would say I was pretty much able to get the gist of most of it pretty easily. There was just like certain slang that would come up that I would just be like, what?
Oh, like what?
There was a thing that everybody kept saying, and it was just the way he delivered the line. I was like, what are these? What? It would throw me off. They would just say like, well then, or like, well. They would just say the word well, actually, all the time.
Well,
Yeah. But like, it was that word, it was like a question as to like, go on, is what that means. It's
Oh.
like, keep going. Yeah. But they would just say it. They would just interject it. Somebody would be explaining something and they just go, well. And then, but he would read it like that. And I was like, why are they saying that? But
is
then,
that vintage slang? Like,
Yeah.
is that?
yeah, I think it was maybe either vintage slang or the way he was delivering the line, like threw me off. It didn't like sound right to me. And then I like through context, was like, oh, they're just saying like, and they're just like, yeah. And then
Is
was
it kind of like, it's like, well, I'll be. Like, is it kind of like that? Like,
no, they just said, well, it literally, I think it is just a way to be like, and they're like, okay.
well.
Yeah, it's just like a little.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
interjection
I was
in
listening to
between.
the same audiobook and me not knowing what you're talking about. No, I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Also, the Thomas Marvel is called a tramp throughout the whole book.
That was confusing.
And I was like,
I
that
think
was
that
so
means he's
confusing.
homeless.
yes, he's like a
Yeah.
vagrant.
That's what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched some
Like
videos
Lady and the
about
Tramp.
it.
Like the dogs. Like Lady and the Tramp.
Again, this is all stuff that I didn't, like, infer. Like, what do you
No,
mean by that?
I
like,
didn't get that when I read it, but then I watched some videos and they were like, "Oh, the homeless character," and I'm like, "Oh, I did not realize
I did
that."
not realize that at
Yeah.
all. Wait, what? Whoa.
That's why he just finds him like by a tree. He
I
like
thought he was hanging out.
he just finds him like chilling somewhere.
Makes
Wait, so
it
you're telling me that
sad.
in 1897 there were unhoused people under
No
trees?
way.
No, wait. I'm not saying that in general. I'm just saying, like, how's it been over 100 years? Not to get political here, but how's it been over 100 years and we're still having this issue?
Still dealing with it.
Like,
Turns out it's a hard problem to solve. Surprisingly.
Probably not, but we're not going to get into
we don't have
that.
to get into it right now.
Not going to
That's
change
next
the world
episode.
in our podcast.
Next episode, we
We
deal with the
tackle
housing
homelessness
crisis.
issue. Yeah. Anyway.
Other than that, though, I think the language is pretty understandable for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like my brain like couldn't process some of it, and
get
like
that.
then I would stop like listening almost. So that's why I feel like you understood more than I did.
I feel like you won this episode.
Yeah.
I have to say. Like, I feel like you, for whatever reason,
Nice. Thank you.
you get the
I
crown.
won one, finally. Finally.
You've won in life.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Also, what is strychnine? Like,
Strychnine?
is that like Adderall? What is that?
Oh, I don't know.
He mentions when he's talking about trying to figure out how to turn himself invisible, he mentions that like at one point he was like losing sleep and he was like he was barely surviving, and then he takes strychnine as like a drug.
It's used as a stimulant,
Yeah.
So it's Adderall.
but it's a bitter and highly poisonous compound.
What?
Okay. So it's like a meth. Is it like meth? What is it?
It's a highly toxic, colorless, bitter, crystalline alkaloid used as a pesticide.
Oh,
And it kills small vertebrae such as birds and rodents.
but it like gets you hyped up.
I guess so.
That is insane.
Yeah, because he mentioned I didn't know what that was. I assumed it was some sort of stimulant drug, but I never heard of it before. But he mentions that. That was another one that came up.
Is it okay if I get to... I really want to talk about the ending of the movie really quick. Like the literal ending of the movie.
Sure.
Yeah, that is very different from the
Yes,
book.
the invisible man dying in the hospital with Flora over him. And then when he dies, he becomes visible, which is the same in the book.
Yes.
When he dies, he becomes visible. Why?
I don't know.
So we can look at that sweet, sweet invisible man
That
become visible.
they don't explain it in the book or the movie.
That's like, I still do not understand because it's like his blood is like, when he's freshly dead, his blood isn't just like, oh, never mind. You know
It
what I'm
would
saying?
go to the bottom of his body, right?
Would that, so that he would still be invisible on the bottom of his body.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand biology or
I don't get it either.
Any
I just like,
of
I
it.
didn't understand that in either version.
chemistry.
Does
but-
your hold on? Does your no? That wouldn't make sense either. His blood is changed colors. That's what the chemical does, right? It changes his blood's color.
Yeah.
But then when he gets hurt and blood leaks out of him, after a while the blood
Wait,
becomes
we
visible.
see it.
Yeah.
In the book also, when he gets hurt and there's blood, you can see the blood after a while. He says once it coagulates, I think you can see it.
It's a cool
Which-
word. Say it again.
Coagulate.
ASMR hour.
Ooh.
Kind of scratches my brain.
Don't give him any. Don't make him his ego
Change
bigger
it
than
into
it is.
ASMR podcast. But yeah, I don't know why he becomes visible when he dies. Maybe that has to do with like the blood not circulating. Somehow that makes him visible.
Big brain.
Because like when it leaves his body, for some reason it becomes visible. So I don't know. And it does say it starts with like in the book at least. It says it starts with his like hands and feet,
Right.
and then slowly like
Weird.
becomes
I don't know
visible
why.
inward. I don't know. I'll explain.
Right. So we get to our ending, and
Yeah.
it's Claude Rains, and he's wearing lipstick, ironically. Well, he's in old Hollywood makeup because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was struck by how dark his eyebrows were and how dark his hair
Eyebrows
was.
on fleek.
It was like 2016.
Yeah.
It's
2016
like-
makeup. So accurate.
2016.
But it was a little surprising because we hadn't obviously seen what the actual man looked like. This is also how we learned that he is in fact not albino, because in the book when he
Yes.
dies, they're like, look at this shriveling albino man. Which again,
Shriveling.
like the tone that they say, because they're talking about him, they're like, he's pathetic, he's dying in the street, and like
Because they hate him.
right, 'cause they hate him, and so they do kind of like weaponize the albinoism a little bit, because
little.
they're like look at this little albino man. You know, and it's like, so then that makes you wonder again, like, but also it is the townspeople that are saying that. The townspeople hate him because he's stealing
Yeah.
and killing
And
On a
starting
reign of
a reign of
terror.
terror.
he's starting a reign of terror, but they don't know that.
I guess they maybe the police told them. I don't know, but I don't know if they know his
We
whole
have to
plan.
infer that the police told everybody he's
About the
starting
reign
a
of
reign
terror.
of terror, you guys.
Because he does deliver a note to Kemp and is like, "You're the first kill in my reign of terror." He says it again.
It is crazy when he's like, the executioning is going to begin. And it's like, whoa, what a crazy line.
You know
Yeah.
what? He reminded me of the guy from The Invincibles, the superhero that's like
The Invincibles.
Wait, what? Wait.
the
Invincible?
Invisible the Pixar movie.
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles. Oh.
Why can't I remember names?
The Incredibles. The Invincibles starring Al Pacino.
The Incredibles, you
Yeah.
know, the little kid with the big hair that's
Oh
like
yeah, Syndrome.
syndrome. That's like the vibe he gives up.
He does kind of give off Syndrome vibes, actually.
Actually, yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
We got there in the end, but it took me a minute.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I agree, actually. But yeah, so
Anyway.
the ending was very different between him, you know, him and Kemp battling it out in the street,
Yeah.
and then ultimately Kemp winning, and then he becomes visible, dies in the road with the whole town crowding around.
What's the town that kills him? They like beat him up. And then he's like, please stop hurting me. And then they stop, and then he just dies. He just bleeds out.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's oh.
Yeah, because somebody hits him. I think I could be misremembering. I believe he gets hit, and someone hits him in the head with a shovel. Someone like rolls up.
Yeah.
They're like struggling Kemp and Griffin are like struggling in the street, like trying to strangle each other. And then
Yeah.
somebody rolls up with like a shovel and just clocks him.
This is the reason why, like, honestly, this whole book, I know it isn't a social commentary book, but it feels almost. You know what I mean? Because the whole thing.
It's like there's something there.
Well, it kind of like it's just like the whole thing is like, so this is what happens when you're mean to everybody and the town ostracizes you, and this is what happens to you. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's not a social commentary book. It is a science fiction novel, and yet so much of it, it's like I'm just trying to survive because I'm invisible now and nobody can see me or help me, and also everybody in the town hates me, and it's all about, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of science fiction has like social commentary. Like almost every alien invasion movie has some kind of commentary about humanity and like how we interact with
That
other
makes
people.
sense.
Science fiction is a good vehicle for like some social commentary most of the time.
Yeah, I can't place exactly what it is with Invisible Man.
Yeah, like what he's trying to target.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's just kind of adjacent. It's not really. It is not. I don't
Yeah.
think the priority of the book.
you can maybe be like Griffin is like a stand-in for like greedy, narcissistic, like scientists not trying to help others, but just trying to use science to like help themselves. I don't know, something like that. You can maybe, but
Go.
I was just gonna say, knowing that H.G. Wells dated Margaret Sanger, I'm just like, first of all, do we know if he dated other like people involved in science?
I did read there was like a famous feminist that he was with, but
okay.
those were the two names I recognized.
I did, maybe it was for research.
Did you mention in your research whether he has a background in like any sort of science or he's just a writer?
He was a teacher, but I don't think he was involved with science. I think he was a writer.
Like any like fields or anything. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I'd have to double check though. His Wikipedia was very long. That leads into my next question, where mad scientist narratives were very prevalent in the science fiction genre from the 30s and 50s. Like we see a lot of monster movies during that time.
So true.
Yeah, Frankenstein. We mentioned Frankenstein earlier.
Have to do with crazy mad science. Do you think that's still prevalent today?
Oh, sorry. Do you want to take this one first, or do you want?
You mean present in media or like present in social like conscious?
Social conscious.
I would say after 2020, it may have been a bit of a rise in anti-scientific thought. I would say.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. And I was going to bring that up on our next episode as well, when we talk about the 2020 version and how we change what science we're talking about in the context of that movie, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I do think it's interesting how it seems like in every single version, there's like this lab setting, like you're saying, this like crazy scientist experiment gone wrong or not, or he does it on purpose or whatever, but he's an evil scientist or he's a mad scientist or whatever. I do think it's declined a lot. As in terms of the genre, I can't think of the last mad scientist movie I've seen that wasn't from before 19. When did Back to the Future come out?
I don't know.
The 80s.
That's not even a horror movie, but you get what I'm saying. Like in terms of the zeitgeist and like what's in the general conscious, like I can't remember the last mad scientist movie I saw.
Yeah, like a real campy, like this guy is a mad scientist. I don't know if that still exists. I'm trying to think of like any.
We should bring it back. It's
You
kind
know-
of fun.
Yeah.
This
It
is gonna be
is.
kind of like a weird reference. I think it kind of fits though. You ever seen The Menu?
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a good one.
Technically not a
Ways.
scientist, but he's like he kind of fits
Stretch,
that like role.
stretch.
I feel like it works.
It works, yes, but I think in terms of like that, like I'm thinking of like low key. I'm thinking of like the Nutty Professor.
No, I know
what I mean?
I know the archetype you're thinking of, but I'm trying to think the closest I can come up with.
No, and that's a
in
good,
recent.
That is probably the closest comp, and even that it's so interesting because like he is praying in that movie. Like you know what I mean? Like you're talking about the Voldemort.
Ralph.
Ray Fiennes.
Ray
Fiennes.
Fiennes.
Yeah, Ray Fiennes, yeah.
Ralph.
Yeah, he's like preying on those people. Ralph Fiennes added to the, what did we say before? Al Pacino. Yeah, yeah.
Al Pacino and the Invincibles.
We just need a board behind us.
The only other difference, and I think I briefly mentioned it, is that Griffin goes on like a killing spree at the end of the movie. And in the book, I believe he only kills like 2 people, maybe.
Yeah.
He
only
racks up a
kills-
body count in this movie.
He only kills one, I think. in
He
the
kills the guy with the
one?
pipe.
Yes.
Which even in the book, I'm pretty sure they're like, we don't actually know what happened.
Yeah, they do make it a little. It's pretty clear that the book is telling you he did kill him.
Like, he
but they
definitely
don't
killed
know
him, but we don't know why. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know if it was self-defense. We don't know. I mean, it probably wasn't self-defense, but we don't know, like, if it really does emphasize, like, we don't know the struggle that happened.
Yes. Because he does beat up a guy and put him in a sack, and it is ambiguous as to whether or not that guy made it out okay. But technically, if you want to add that one to his body count, he might have 2 kills.
It's
in the book.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5 kills.
That's perfect.
Because you said in the movie he kills people? I don't remember.
He
kills
the
Cam.
train.
Oh, I
Hundreds
forgot
of
about the
people fly off a cliff in a train.
The train is so insane that I blocked it out. I forgot that he did that. That's so crazy. He just derails a whole train.
Yeah, so
forgot.
there's
My
a
bad.
lot of people on there
You're
on
right.
those things.
I
It's
forgot.
his reign of terror.
Yeah.
Like, that, I mean, that is a reign of terror.
I totally forgot. I was so distracted by how fun it was to see the little mini train fall off the mountain that I forgot.
See,
There
yet
was
again,
he
that's
just
just-
killed like 100 people.
And
I just-
Kemp, like you said.
He fully murders Camp.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I just love, I don't know, it's just, like, so fun to see movies that are old.
Yeah, it's great.
just so cool. Like, I don't know. I just, like, love it.
Gotta do it more often.
Yeah.
Like,
It's refreshing. Oh, wait, can I point out one final thing?
yeah.
No,
Let's move on.
I'm done. Yeah, go. What's up?
So in the movie, they know he's naked. And in the book, they, like, don't know he's naked. This is something that I was personally hung up on. And I'll talk about this more in the next episode as well. Because, like, they know he's walking around naked.
Why
Why are
is
you
that
hung
a
up on this?
problem?
Why-
Yeah.
Because like the whole time I was like, you can see him when he's wearing clothes. He takes off the clothes. It's snowing outside. He's running around this town nude. Like, I don't know why this was like a big deal to me. Like, when I was reading it, and then in the movie they know that he's naked.
Yeah.
In the book, it's like, okay, they don't know. In the movie, they all
They're
know.
not the brightest people. Like, they keep going into his room.
That's
just
and
That's my
unannounced.
favorite
And it's like,
thing.
that pissed me off too. This
I
is
would
the thing.
get so
Like,
mad too.
Sympathizing a little. I mean, again, not really, not fully.
Yeah.
But sympathizing with him like a little bit. I'm like, if people just kept bursting into my room and being like,
Oh,
he
I'd
is
be pissed too.
like,
Because early in the book, for people again who haven't read it or whatever, clarify. In the beginning of the book, he is like portrayed. They kind of mentioned like he's kind of rude and like kind of an asshole, but also like every day, someone just barges into his room without knocking.
he's
every
working on his
single
chemistry
day.
or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, "Can I have some privacy?" And they're like, "Oh, of course," and they leave. And then the next day, they're like, "Dinner's ready," and they like kick open like the door, and he's like, "Dude, I just told you." And it's like, this guy's so rude.
Yeah.
This guy's got no manners. Like, you broke into his room 5 times. Like, dude,
What do you expect?
after he told you each time not to. And he like asked. It's like in the beginning he is portrayed as like a douche, but like I was on his side for most of it. I was like, this guy seems like an alright guy. I'd do the same thing.
He's an interesting character
And it's a
overall.
little extreme, but like
Yeah.
in the beginning that is very funny. They just keep they're like so nosy. They're like, we gotta know what's going on with this guy.
No, yeah, they're like, why is he acting weird? And then they're like cursing him.
Yeah.
So I was struggling to try to come up with anything.
For this or that?
Yeah. What?
For this or that?
For this or that,
Okay.
yes. I was like really trying to rack my brain. Because, like I mentioned, this book was kind of a chore. And it went in through one ear and out the other. I could not remember a whole lot.
I like, okay.
We're not gonna get H.G. Wells on the pod.
No, I'm sorry.
I want to hear, like, I know that we're about to do this or that, but I want to hear more about your opinion about a lot of the things that we just talked about.
Oh, God. Like what?
Like,
Like what?
There's a lot of things.
I see, this is what I'm saying. Like, give me a nugget.
A nugget?
Give me a knowledge
Like
nugget.
what was making it hard for you?
Yeah, like talk more about your experience with reading. Like, we talked about, like, I didn't like that it was posh, but like say more about,
I
like,
see. Yeah, I just felt like the dialogue was overly detailed. I mean, we talked about there's at least 3 chapters of him just fully monologuing.
Yes.
And it's like, this is unnecessary. And there's also no way that somebody, if this is a log that is being recounted of these events,
yeah.
there's no way anyone would be able to write all that dialogue. How would you know that? How would you know that all this went down? Like, it's just that my suspension of disbelief was out the window.
I get that.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, honestly, that's a really good way to summarize all of my issues with the book.
Okay, perfect.
That portion of the book is really like bizarre. That he's just monologuing for like 3-4 straight chapters about how he did everything.
Yes.
Because not only because I forgot sometimes that it was him monologuing, because sometimes he'll get like so descriptive and like flowery, and the prose will get so like fancy that you're like, oh wait, he's talking.
Yeah.
He's in the context of the book, he's talking to Kemp right now.
I would have called the cops too.
Why are you saying so many adjectives, bro? Just give me a give me a quick summary what you did. But he's like so like flowery with his dialogue. It's like clearly like written because it's a book. It's supposed to be descriptive, but in the context of the scene, it's him talking. Like, why are you talking like this? You're talking to just a guy. You're talking to somebody you know, kind of. Yeah, that it did throw me off sometimes. That whole portion I think is very strange.
So yes, like what else about the movie to you?
Me
being like answer.
No,
like
I really enjoy the movie, and I think it's worth watching. And I'd seen it a few years ago for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So this was my second rewatch, and even though I wasn't particularly a fan of the book, I do love the character of Griffin like a lot. I think he's super fun compared to like other Universal monsters. I think he's just super wacky. And yeah, we mentioned the Reign of Terror all the time, and he's kind of like a dork. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but I love that about him. Yeah, those are my thoughts. So like, yeah, book, I am probably never gonna reread again.
Agree.
Movies,
I don't think I
fun
could recommend
time.
it.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see, because we're gonna eventually cover War of the Worlds farther down the line. I mean, there's so many adaptations.
Might be the only
for that,
reread
but-
I have to do on this entire podcast, because I did read
You
War of
did
the
read
Worlds.
it?
I have read it.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. So I'm interested to see the differences in terms of his writing. I hope it gets better. Yeah.
And that's Tessa's take. Thank you so much for
This has
listening.
You
been-
asked. You
No,
asked.
and that's exactly what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, this versus that, y'all.
Yes.
Flora versus Mr. Marvel.
Dude, Mr. Marvel, 100%. Are you kidding me? The easiest answer you could possibly... Dude, Flora stinks. Flora is not a great character.
Yeah.
She is
'Cause
just...
she's a woman.
She's a placeholder.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Tessa. Take a good long look at this guy.
You want to keep talking? You want to keep going?
I think
You
I'm
know
all
why
right.
you hate
I think I'm
Flora.
good. I think that was it. I think you nailed it, Tessa. No. No. No, I think Mr. Marvel is really fun. He's like a goofy ass. He is like a Three Stooges
I
character
love
in the
him,
book.
yeah.
He's so dumb. Like he like also does get the better of Griffin. He does get away and like steals his books.
And like you said, he's an entrepreneur.
He is at the end of the book. He's like they like specifically spend time. H.G. Wells like specifically spends time at the end of the book to be like, and then Marvel, he's cool now. He's good. And he just gives a little epilogue that's all about Thomas Marvel and not about any of the other characters. He's just Thomas Marvel started an inn called The Invisible Man, and he tells stories about the time he was with the Invisible Man, and he's just like a cool guy now. That's it. Thomas Marvel's great. What over Flora? Any day.
Okay, Sam.
I think it's a harder answer for me. I do think I like Marvel more. But the thing is like when I was reading the book, when I was reading about Marvel, like I got that he was like funny Three Stooges, whatever. But like my brain was just checked out during the section that I was like reading about them like going around together or whatever. And so like I just like didn't. I feel honestly very equally ambivalent about both of them. Like it's hard for me to say like which one's better because I didn't really, you know what I mean? I didn't really like either of them.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess if I had to answer, then I'd probably say Marvel just because of the ending. Because if they had merged the two characters, like actually, you know?
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Oh, the epilogue goes to like Flora at the end.
Yes, like actually, like
yeah.
that would have been so kosher to me. Like that would have been great. But I think just as they are, I'd say Marvel. What about you?
No, I totally agree. Flora was not a great addition, but like you said, I kind of checked out as well during his sections. But yeah, the epilogue was fun. I kind of forgot that he was part of the book, though.
Yeah, because
he
he's
was
gone for a
gone.
while.
Right.
Yeah.
He seems so unimportant. Like I understand why in the movie they just kind of like with him and Kemp because 'cause you know, it really isn't necessary, especially for like all the action that the Invisible Man does.
Because he's not in the book. Marvel's not in the book for that long.
No.
He doesn't do a lot. And then for some reason, the epilogue is all about him.
Right.
And that's it. That's all. He gets like a little bit of screen time in the middle of the book. Then he meets Kemp, and then we get 5 chapters of him talking
He
about
wins.
it. And then,
Like he does in fact win.
yeah, he makes it out great. He's cool.
Yeah.
He's having a great life at the end of it.
It would have been interesting if they did merge the characters and if the Invisible Man was using Flora.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And that could have been
exactly.
translated perfectly into the 2020
Yeah.
version.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
he like they almost do something with that because he tell his plan to Flora instead of Kemp in the movie.
He does tell Flora his plan.
because the whole Reign of Terror monologue I think goes to does he do it to Kemp first?
I think he does do it to
First,
both.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but he like tells her like I'm gonna make everybody like invisible or something.
And Flora's like, my dad can help you. And he's like, I hate your dad.
But no, he like I think he does kind of try to recruit her a little bit, but then they don't do anything with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that could have been fun if she was like his partner in crime.
This next one is...
Mm.
I was really pulling at straws here. Is that the term? Is that the right term?
Yeah. Yeah.
Grasping at straws.
Grasping,
Grasping
at
at
straws.
straws.
You're close.
Yeah.
You're always
I
close.
don't know vocab, apparently, or English language.
Add it to the wall.
There he goes.
I don't know if I want to read this.
You have to, actually, if you write it down.
Okay. Would you rather walk naked through the snow or sleep in a burning barn?
Holy Jesus. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with the snow on that one. I think I'm gonna go naked through the snow.
So I die either way, right?
Eventually,
It's like, which way do you want to die? Because I'm not going to wake up in the burning. Like,
do you?
am I
wake
allowed
up?
to wake
That's
up?
the thing. As I was thinking, I was imagining.
Meet my
that-
sleep paralysis demon? Am I allowed to wake up? All right.
I was imagining that you would wake up in the burning barn and try to get out. But in this,
Okay.
and then
But so if when I'm in the
know.
snow, am I like going to a destination? Like the rules of this situation are complicated.
I don't know.
Am I walking through the snow
I just
to
want
the
to hear
burning
your
barn?
thoughts on like what you would think.
Like which situation you would rather
Yeah.
go through?
I
Yeah.
feel like walking through the snow
Okay.
naked.
But I guess but you're also thinking like depending on how long.
Depending on how long it'll
Yeah,
Yeah, depending on how long.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Does he walk like 3 miles? Does it ever say?
This is like, again, this is why I was so hung up on the fact that he was naked and nobody seemed to care.
Uh,
Like that's insane.
Yeah, well, that's why they like do. In the book, that's why they have him lock their doors and stuff. Is because like you can lock your doors. He has to just be outside at night
And
naked.
he'll freeze.
Yeah, like he can't stay anywhere.
Okay, let me retract that then.
Okay.
You have to stay outside naked in the snow all night.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Or
Time limit.
Yes.
you're sleeping in a barn and somebody's trying to burn you out of it or like smoke you out of it.
Is there a door on the barn?
I think there were doors on the barn.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're
Is the
trying to-
person outside? Is it just one person?
Well, how many it's how many people were in the movie?
There were a
right?
lot,
There
weren't
were
there?
a lot of people.
So a
There's
lot
like
of people
mob
are waiting on me to
people.
burn.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're waiting.
Okay.
And so you have to try to get out.
Gotcha.
Which thing would you rather go through?
And they are trying to kill me.
Do they have guns? Do they have other weapons, or is it just the
Did they have
burning barn?
guns? I don't know.
They did. They shot him.
They shot. You're right.
Yeah.
In the
So
movie,
they have.
yeah.
So
Spoilers.
circle of people. There's a burning barn, and even if I do escape, they're gonna shoot me dead. Is that the right?
Well, I mean, if
situation?
you can dodge them,
They had old guns.
Yeah. True.
so it
Is it
takes a
current
while
or is
to-
it back then?
Back then?
Okay.
This is really just a lot.
This is a great segment. This is a great this versus that segment. This is awesome.
I'm just imagine yourself in the movie in these scenarios
Yeah.
in the movie or the
Am
book,
I naked
whatever.
in the barn, or am I?
You're naked
Yeah,
in both.
you would be
You're
naked, in both because he was naked in the barn.
I feel like I'd rather be naked in the snow overnight.
Okay. Okay.
That sucks.
No, it sucks, but
That
like
for
there's not
real
a circle
sucks.
of people waiting to shoot me.
That's actually awful. Being naked in the snow for a whole night.
Well, I'm trying to think if there's anywhere I would like go that like maybe is open, but like you know what I mean? Like
I think for a whole night you like die.
Well, yeah, but
Do
I'm
you
pretty sure-
die?
Like in Yellow Jackets, she slept in the snow and then died.
right,
In
I
what?
think I would die for
TV
sure.
show.
Oh.
I think I would die, yeah. But it's like
That was real.
I was like, what is Yellow Jackets? I don't know what that is. I get it.
it's like if it's either I die of my own volition or I get shot. I don't believe in myself to dodge bullets like that.
I could
Do
dodge
you? Yeah, okay.
it. I'd get out.
Okay.
I take the barn.
Okay. You take the barn. You take. The
I take the snow, yeah.
Okay.
What would I take? Because I don't know. I feel like if you fall asleep in the snow, I feel like death is you don't
Imminent.
even realize it.
Well, that's exactly.
So
it's
I'm like, do I want painless death or death that's really quick and over with. Or, I don't know, because I don't know. I feel like I'd be tripping and like stumbling if trying to escape people. But like I don't trust myself.
Can they? This is the question. Am I invisible?
Yeah. No. Wait.
Because if I'm walking out nude, and they can all see me nude.
Oh yeah, I was assuming that I picked the barn. I assumed I was invisible.
Oh,
because if I was just naked, running out of a barn.
Keep defining the rules. I don't know.
This is what I keep saying. Is it's like if I'm naked, if I'm fully dressed, then yeah, I would take the barn.
I did imagine y'all invisible.
But if I was invisible, then I would. Wait. No, wait. Opposite. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you're fully dressed, you take the snow. If you're invisible, you take the barn. Is that what you're saying?
If I'm walking out of the barn nude, and there's a circle of men with guns, then I would rather not be in that situation if they can see me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then they're gonna get me. But if I'm invisible and I'm walking out nude, then I think I could dodge them.
Okay. So the invisibility was the important part.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought I was invisible in the scenario.
No, I think I also imagine being invisible.
Okay, then yeah. Then in that case, I go back to the barn.
Okay.
Back to the barnyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Good show. All right.
Excellent.
That was a lot. I'm so
You
sorry.
did a great job on the this or that. That was good.
Hey, thank you. Invisible Man versus Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Oh, actually, great question. Because I was thinking about this on the way
you.
here.
Like who wins in a fight, or
Just which one you picking?
Like my fave?
Or you can base it on
My
who
problematic
would win
fave.
a fight. But
Okay.
yeah, I thought favorites.
favorites?
Well, so, okay. We haven't done these books yet, but are we going off of movie Dracula and Frankenstein, or are we going off
Whatever
of
you want.
Got it. Then, easy, Dracula.
Okay, from the movie?
I don't know.
Just in general.
Yup.
All versions of
Yup.
Dracula. Okay.
I've never been a huge fan of Frankenstein. Or Frankenstein's
You
monster.
don't get his vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the book, though, I do like, the girl in the flower.
I get
you know what
it.
I mean?
I get it.
We haven't covered that book
No,
yet.
we haven't. Maybe
In a
we
few
will.
episodes,
But
hopefully.
I've never been like a big fan. Never liked his vibe. Like, oh, just big dude, whatever. Not cool to me. Dracula's just he's cool. He's always been cool. He's been cool from day one.
That's what I'm saying.
He
You got the fangs.
yeah.
He's
He's
got
a looker.
the widow's
for
peak.
sure.
Oh, exactly.
The little cape with the
Invisible
collar.
Man, he's just too dorky.
Yeah, he's got great
Yeah,
cereal.
I love him. He's
He knows how to
my
count.
number one.
He's your number one.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
are we
love
ranking
his-
them?
We can, but he's my favorite.
He's your fave.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is
I go
dorky.
1 Dracula, 2 Invisible Man, 3 Frankenstein.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that a lot.
I would have not had that order had I not read the book because I think Griffin is a really funny character.
Agree. Yeah.
If I had not read the book, Invisible Man would have been last. So I'm like, wait, he's just invisible? Who cares? But
I would have still thought he was paranormal. This is my whole thing. Before
Yeah.
reading the book, I had no idea that it was science fiction.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, Invisible Man, Dracula, and Frankenstein. But I haven't read Frankenstein or seen the movie yet.
You
yeah, my
read it?
opinion might
I haven't
change.
read it yet. And I know it's really good and I need to.
Yeah, we should
So
do that eventually.
I
That's
feel
a
like
great book.
We might have to return to these rankings.
We should.
We might
This
have to.
should be recurring.
My
for
opinion will
each-
probably change about Frankenstein if we read
Yeah.
the book because it did about the Invisible Man.
I have to see. That's the thing. You know. See, now you're making me think. You haven't read the book of Frankenstein.
No.
I'm the only person. Have you read the book of Frankenstein?
Who are you talking to?
Have you read the book of Frankenstein? I love that book. It is so excellent, and it's so like, Father, why have you made me? And it's like awesome. Like, anyway, I know. Okay, anyway, we should
Why are you
move
laughing?
on.
No, nothing.
That's the whole book. It's literally like, Father, like, why? Why did
That's
you
cool.
make
And
me a
me.
machine? Yeah, and then he's like, because I felt like being God. That's the book.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Mad Science.
I'll get that feeling.
Mad
every once in a
Science,
while.
Mary Shelley.
Mad Science. Ooh, she's gonna be fun to look into.
Yeah,
She's
shout
got
out
some
Mary.
Crazy stuff.
Shout out Mary. Fave.
All right, so I watched the 4 sequels.
You watched all 4?
I watched all 4.
Can you name them right now?
The Invisible Man Returns, The Invisible Woman, The
What?
Invisible Agent.
Feminism. The Invisible Woman.
We'll get to that.
Really?
We'll get to that. And The Invisible Man's Revenge, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the first 2 in this episode, and then in part 2, we're going to look at the other 2, because we've been at this for a long time. So
Yeah.
let's look at The Invisible Man Returns, which was the sequel in this franchise. And it was, on the title card, it was called A Sequel to The Invisible Man.
Nice.
So I guess they
That
gave it a
is so
name
cool.
later. It's just a fun little thing I noticed. And it focuses on Dr. Frank Griffin, who is the brother of the original Jack Griffin.
The brother.
The brother. Jack Griffin has a brother. Frank Griffin gives a wrongly convicted murderer a second chance by turning him invisible. So that's the plot. So this guy, this murderer, is the Invisible Man,
Okay.
not Frank Griffin.
Gotcha.
Basically, it's more cartoonish. Like, if you can believe it, it's more cartoonish than the 1933 version. There's a fun smoke trick where they blow cigar smoke into the Invisible Man's face to, like, show that he's there, which I thought was pretty cool. And it received an Oscar nom for Best Special Effects.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's very cool, actually.
To clarify, this came out in 1940, so 7 years after the original.
So we're getting up to World War II.
Yes.
I think it
and we will
just started.
We were not there
Europe.
yet, though.
No, we weren't there. No.
No.
Not yet.
Not that the World War II timeline really matters.
We gotta
that
make
much to
sure
Invisible
we
Man.
understand
It
where.
really does.
It does?
It does because
Do some of the movies talk about it?
in The Invisible Agent, the Invisible Man in that movie goes to fight Nazis.
Wait,
That's sick.
that is so interesting. Okay, we'll
It
talk.
sounds cooler than it is.
No, we'll talk about this next episode, but that comes up in the TV show as well about the Invisible
Really?
Man fighting. Yeah, for like the U.S. military. Anyway, we'll get to that next episode. Tune in next episode. But that's crazy.
That's wild. Okay. Yeah, so that was The Invisible Man Returns. The Invisible Woman sounds way cooler than it was. This
yeah.
also came out in 1940, several months after the sequel. So this
Okay.
is the third in the franchise.
Oh, same year.
Does
Same
it
year.
chronologically
Oh.
go after the sequel, or chronologically does it go after the first one? Or does it matter? It's the Invisible Woman.
confusing. This franchise is confusing because it focuses on different characters, some of which might be related to him, some of which might not be. In this case, she's not related at all
Okay.
to Griffin. And this is a straight up comedy. There's no horror really at all. And it's about this previously wealthy guy, Richard Russell. He funds this old professor guy to like help his experiments or whatever. But the professor's like not really doing anything lately, so he's like, I gotta get you out of here unless you do something cool. I can't be funding you anymore. And the professor's like, wait, I got this invisibility device. So it's like a machine.
Oh.
Not a
We've leveled
serum.
up our science.
And I believe this one, it looks like it takes place in the 40s or like the late 30s based on like the outfits they wear. They're not trying to be like set. It's not trying to be a period piece is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Anyway, so Professor Gibbs is like reaching out to, he puts an ad in the newspaper and he's like, does anyone want to volunteer for my invisibility machine? And this woman, Kitty Carroll, is the first test subject. And she's a department store model and she wants to use this power to terrorize her boss, which sounded really cool.
Again, like, why are we for the people right now? Like, I love invisible people.
It sounded, Stan invisible people, inclusivity and invisibility.
We need more invisible representation in media.
So the only thing she does is, she like messes with her boss like one time. And then she starts up this relationship with Richard Russell. It's like an enemies to lovers kind of thing. And I was like, man, I wanted her to be more badass. So if I ever get the opportunity to remake this movie, I will make her crazy. Like, this is a movie that needs to be remade.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. Because she was fun, but like, I wanted her to go like Griffin level of craziness.
I just know she would do it better. Sorry,
100%.
Griffin. I'm sorry to say. I just know. I believe in her. She had also an agenda, and I think it was a little better, I have to say, than Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
Terrorize her boss. Yeah.
Yeah, we can support that.
So she like goes to terrorize her boss and then does it, and then for the rest of the movie, it's like what, like a rom-com?
The rest of it, it's a rom-com. She's trying to become uninvisible.
She's
Yeah,
like, oh,
it's like
no.
whatever.
Gotcha.
Womp womp.
Yeah. But this one did stick more in my mind than the others, I will say.
I kind of want to watch these. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
We should have watched them.
It was an interesting time. So we'll dive into the other two sequels next episode.
Excellent.
That was our episode, y'all.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you for listening. We're going to be covering The Invisible Man 2020 in 2 weeks. So make
Whoop, whoop.
sure to stay tuned. Watch that movie beforehand if you want. And yeah, follow us on Dreadful Digest Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
Alrighty.
Happy
Thank you.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye. I love you.